Hello and welcome to Group Chat, and a special hello and welcome to our friends on YouTube. And thank you to the big homies at State Farm for presenting this live stream for us. We got Rob Mahoney, we got the Okie in the house, Tyler Parker, and you came at the perfect time because what the fuck just happened? The NBA Finals is tied because the Thunder just stole that game 4 from the Pacers in a very Pacers way.
No, as I told you, I am sweating. I am still vibrating, I think. So if Cruz, if y'all are picking up some hums on the other end, that's just me. Yeah, man, the Pacers got pacered. I don't even know what to do with myself, to be honest with you. I was really thinking a lot during this game, like, man, I'm really not looking forward to going on this live stream after this. and I could, what a swing. I know what it feels like to be a Pacer fan now. This is amazing.
I mean, this is as good as it gets. You know, like 4 minutes left, a 68-win team down 4, playing for its season, playing for Tyler's immortal soul, and the sanctity of this live stream.
I'm going to heaven, baby.
Yeah, I feel like
this is why we do this.
We needed to do a wellness check on Tyler just to start this podcast. Rob, how is your heart right now? Are you having palpitations after this one?
No, I'm cool as a cucumber. I'm Shai in crunch time right now. You know, I'm just bobbing and weaving myself, looking for a little contact and then trying to figure it out.
Well, if I could be a little precious with this, it did feel like the way that the Thunder took this game back was particularly thundery. You know, the Pacers had these triumphant comebacks throughout the postseason, just doing it their way, the crisp, high-octane offense, Tyler. But this was really just like brute force, and more than anything, it was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Shai, I mean, they threw that stat up, or Breen said the stat at one point, Indy's 9-1 in clutch games this postseason. Shai tonight outscores them 14-7 in clutch time himself.
Jesus.
Which is just, and to do that after, I mean, he's the entire focus of the defense, right? The rest of the team is giving him absolutely no space to operate. They hit only 3 threes tonight. How many times in the NBA in the past, like, I don't know, 5 years has a team won any game making 3 threes?
Yeah. You know what, Tyler? I'm so glad you asked that exact question. Here's my prompt for the two of you. When was the last time any team won any game with 3 threes or fewer and 10 assists or fewer? Because really, Indy's defense cut off the water on the assists too. When do you think was the last time that happened?
I didn't know we had access to Mahoney stats and information over here. This is beautiful. I love it.
I'm plugged into the Matrix tonight. Like we're just feeding it straight from the source.
It's incredible to see you in finals form, Rob. Honestly, it's incredible.
Thank you.
Wait, give us those 2 numbers again.
So as a team, 10 assists or fewer and 3 made 3-pointers or fewer, and they won, winning any game at any time in any season.
It's the exact opposite of the formula for winning a modern basketball game. It's incredible. It's incredible.
A Kobe Lakers team? Was it 2010?
Not quite that far back. A 2015 regular season game that the Hornets, led by Michael Kidd-Gilchrist and Brian Roberts, beat the Knicks in like the low 70s. That was the extent of that game. I think that's what's crazy about this one is like those 2 stats are true. That's what the Thunder did in this game. This was still like a really high level basketball game. This felt like great basketball all the way through. It felt like teams struggling and finding their way and needing to improvise and double down on their identities at times and being drifted from their identities at times. But this didn't feel like Charlotte Hornets regular season basketball. This felt like a Thunder team that, honestly, if we're being totally honest about it, I don't know that any other team in recent memory could win a playoff game in this sort of fashion where Tyler, you mentioned the Shai closing out in crunch time, but just as important is the 7 points being allowed for the Pacers in crunch time, right? Like shutting them down in the fashion that they did was so crucial.
Oh my God. I mean, you've got Chet getting pulled into ISOs 3 different times in the last minute and a half, and he holds up all 3 times.
Yep.
He gets good contests on all 3 of them. I mean, I think 2 of them are with Halliburton and 1 of them's with Nembhard. My brain is jelly right now. But so that's probably wrong. But yeah, I mean, for as much as the rest of the team did not show up beyond the arc, to have Chet go for the double-double and play so well down the stretch. He's got those 2 big follows. He's got that huge follow dunk late. You've got Caruso going for 20, and it felt like the first 15 of those are happening at parts where it feels like the game might get out of hand. He's got he hits a big 3, I think early fourth, that it's the lead's 9 and he cuts it to 6. Like he hits that fadeaway at the start of the fourth off the dribble, and it's like, I don't even know what game I'm watching at that point, right? Like, Jalen goes for 27 after, having not a lot of suspect games this playoffs, but definitely some, right? And it's been amazing to see him bounce back after some of these lackluster performances. It's happened every single series where at a certain point, his back against the wall, he shows up. It was just, I can't say enough, and I'm talking too much.
No. Well,
we get it, because this was pretty much a different game up until about 10 minutes before we started this podcast. I think we were ready to sing the praises of the Pacers. They played just remarkable this entire game, especially on defense. We'll talk about that eventually. But Rob, if you were to consult the Elias Sports Bureau for a second, like what would you say is like the number one thing that changed late in the game? Was it Shai taking over? Was it defense? Like, if you're just saying number one, what's your first thought?
I think it's Shai taking over. And within that, I think the broader approach where it seemed like the Thunder were trying to play a longer game. Like, this is the methodology behind changing the starting lineup. They went big, took Casey Wallace out of the starting lineup. I don't love that decision personally. It didn't work great. It led to the most explosive Indiana Pacers start of this entire series. But the trade-off, part of that package is, okay, Shai, who historically plays the entire first quarter, comes out about midway through. They're trying to parcel his minutes out differently. He's clearly less aggressive in terms of hunting his own offense in the first half. He's obviously being hounded by Andrew Nembhard at every step, being denied the ball. It's tough being Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the series, but you could see him sort of biding his time. I'm guilty in the third quarter of wondering, was that a mistake? Like, did he kind of wait too long to get started? And then here he comes in the fourth quarter, delivering everything that the Thunder would hope for him to deliver, delivering on every bit of that game plan. Like, I think the rotations were reoriented in a way where, the Thunder are not a team that are just going to consolidate minutes and trim all of the role players out of the rotation and play their key guys 40. Like, it's just not really in their DNA. It's not how they operate. But this they can do. Reorient things, reprioritize their energy, make it so that at the end of the game, Shai isn't dog exhausted in the way that he was in some of the first 3 games of this series by the end of them. And he has this kind of closing kick in him.
Yeah, Tyler, we've been talking this entire season pretty much about the picture view on using their bench, using different combinations to get into situations like this. We saw them start game 1 with a different starting lineup. That seemed a little aggressive, but it almost felt of a piece with everything we've known about the Thunder. This one felt particularly aggressive to the point where everything Rob said, where they pulled Shai early, but like toward the end of that first quarter, they basically did a line shift outside of Casey Wallace where they subbed 4 guys in en masse. You saw J-Dub handling the ball for better or worse at times. What did you think about that just overall, and then maybe the dividends it paid later on?
I mean, it shouldn't be surprising to me at this point, just because I've watched Daigneault coach for several years at this point, right? But
mostly blue games with
this is
Caruso.
This is a madman. Like, this is a guy who is not afraid to change something up in massive moments. He's been that way this whole time. They tinker throughout the season, like y'all said, with different lineups. I agreed that it was a little aggressive to start the series with Kaysen in the lineup, as much as I'm a Kaysen devotee. But it was one of those things whenever everybody was up in arms about it, I'm like, Kaysen started 48 games this year, I think it was.
Right.
It's not someone coming in that hasn't had, any time in the starting lineup. And so in the rest of the lineup is used to, Aaron Wiggins goes from, he scores whatever he did, 19 in game 2, right? He only gets 10 minutes in game 3. Tonight he gets to play a little bit more. I can't remember what the final minute count was, but these guys are just used to being on their toes and knowing that there's a possibility they're going to have to go in. And I think you're exactly right that, if you look at the beginning of that fourth quarter, Caruso that Caruso gets the inbound and goes coast to coast, and I think hits that layup or hits that fadeaway that I mentioned earlier. And it just looked like he had more turbo reserves than the rest of the guys on the floor. And part of that is just that he hasn't had to play as many minutes. And, you know, then the other part of it is just like he has a motor that won't quit, right? And so he's a lunatic himself. But yeah, I think it was another example of the Thunder not being afraid to tap anyone in a gigantic moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What they play tonight? 9 guys?
I think they went 10.
Did they go 10?
Yeah, they got 10. Joe had 5, the stereotypical Joe 5 minutes and gets pulled, but you know, that was more than last game.
It's always like it's either Joe gets more minutes than Wiggins and Wiggins doesn't play, or the opposite. Like it just depends on how they shake out.
Yeah. Totally. But I think you're right, Tyler, that it's almost in some ways like Casey Wallace and Isaiah Hartenstein. There's the question of who starts and how you want to construct the lineups. But really, it's a false choice because the answer is Alex Caruso. He's going to play most of the minutes that actually matter. And yeah, those plays are huge. Like his willingness to take shots like that is really important. And I thought one of the clearest, this team talked about this in film and came out with a different disposition on it, elements of this game, was Alex Caruso looking to drive. It would like Indiana just did not respect him going to the basket at all. They didn't really treat it as a realistic possibility in game 3. They just like, we're not guarding it. And then all of a sudden you could see every kind of handoff, every exchange, every time he caught on the perimeter, he was looking to get to the basket. And when that happens, yes, he's getting layups. He's also spraying out to other guys or dumping off to other players to finish inside. Like that added a really important element to get the Thunder through the first 3 quarters of this game.
Yeah, Tyler, give us the dossier on Alex Caruso from the Thunder fan perspective, because he starts from like above because he's better than Josh Giddey. He isn't Josh Giddey, and so he's probably endeared to the fans
he is able to play closing minutes in a massive playoff game. So
imagine but he was a little shaky regular season. The shooting wasn't there. He was hurt as he typically is. You weren't sure like if that would carry into the postseason. Obviously, that hasn't been the case. He's just been absolutely bulletproof. Probably one of the best playoff players. If we're doing like a 3-deep All NBA, like all postseason team, he would certainly be probably 3rd or 2nd team at this point. What's it just been like watching him at this point? Like if you were to rank like the Thunder players you believe in are going to show up in crucial moments, is he like 2?
He's way up there. I would have to think. That's a good question. I'd have to think about my ranking, but he's been, you know, I mean, all the cliches, everything you could want and more. I mean, from the jump when they got him, it seemed like, okay, this is amazing. This directly addresses a need and gets rid of a weakness all at the same time. And it's also, I think, big for the Thunder to have a guy like Caruso who is going to be okay only playing 10 minutes some night. You know what I mean? Like to be able to remove the ego in those situations and know there's a longer game. Know that, I mean, he had a quote after game 2 that I think Pina used in his great feature on or his great profile on Caruso. But he was basically like, you know, I play a pretty erratic style and I can't play like this every night. You know, it's just not possible. And so that they were able to kind of have a long game in mind with him this season has been massive. And yeah, the shot turning around in the playoffs has been incredible. But no, I mean, I thought as intentional as they were about going after that the Pacers were about going after Shai, trying to tire him down, I thought that the Thunder were pretty intentional about trying to get Halliburton into actions and definitely driving him. Like they tried to have Caruso or they try to have, you know, him on someone like Caruso or Kaysen or whatever. The first possession of the game, you know, they're attacking Halliburton right off the bat. And so I think they're both teams are employing similar strategies to try to, you know, chip away at the engine of the team, you know?
Totally. Yeah, I think you can see it in the perimeter defense, especially like the guys like Caruso and Lou Dort are bringing like the difference in this game for the Thunder for the Thunder, and like the way they leveled up defensively by the end of it was they went from getting caught in the blender of everything the Pacers were running in the first quarter, just like could not stay out of it, could not stay out of rotation. And I thought by Thunder standards, were just like weirdly undisciplined, like helping off a strong side corner, like giving up just terrible shots. Like the Thunder are going to give up corner threes,
too, like cheating a little bit too much over a little bit too much sometimes. Like they talk like Caruso will talk about sometimes having like proper respect for the offense and stuff like that, and how sometimes, you can venture into, I can get away with anything. And it felt like a couple of those moments happened tonight where he's helping off that strong side quarter, and then Halliburton, looks one way and throws it to Toppin in the corner or whatever, the next time Toppin misses a shot, I will get down on my knees and, sing a hymn for no less than 10 minutes. This guy's been unbelievable. That's not what we're talking about, but I did want to make sure and give him a shout out because he's been incredible. And defensively, he's been working too. I can't believe it.
Definitely.
Yeah, we're going to get to some of these other guys later on. I want to do kind of like a playoff made men list to see like who got minted off of this game in particular, but also in the postseason overall. But we should talk about the Pacers. Just because going into this podcast, Rob, I thought we would be just extolling the virtues of this defense. They made Shai look like he had just like woken up from a nap. He just didn't have that extra oomph throughout the game, in part because Nembhard was clinging to him like a goddamn koala for most of this game. And so it's so weird because I almost want to be like, holy shit, the Pacers defense, the one aspect of the team that had been derided even in the best of times in this regular season, maybe by me, but like, we're not going to cast aspersions or anything like that. But it showed up in a big way. Just like down the stretch, just something happened. Like obviously give credit to the Thunder, but I thought Siakam, let's start with Siakam, who played a masterful game. But seemed like he kind of drifted away, or maybe the Pacers drifted away from him. He didn't score at all in that fourth quarter. If you were to look at this from the other side, do you think that was like the biggest flaw of the Pacers down the stretch?
I think it was some of it, but a lot of that, again, these are all related things. Part of the reason they weren't going to Siakam as much down the stretch is because I thought the Thunder did a great job of controlling some of the mismatches that Siakam was exploiting, like all the easy stuff that he was feeding on early in the game, they were shutting down. And so then all of a sudden, Indy started looking to other places. It's like, okay, we're not going to just post Siakam against smalls. Like that's not really as available to us. Those passes are getting disrupted. Let's bring Chet up, like let's try to get something else into the action. Let's try to run something that's a little bit different to create here. And that didn't really work out for them either. So like, I think ultimately it's one of those things where the Thunder defense is nudging the Pacers in these directions, but they were really rocked off their axis in terms of their execution. They were really thrown off by the level of precision that Oklahoma City was playing with by the end of this game. Obviously the ball pressure is always going to be a tough thing for them. We are lovers of team basketball around here, but sometimes this shit does come down to like, you just have to do this one-on-one. And to be totally honest with you, Shai, by the end of it, was the best one-on-one player in this game, and J-Dub was the second best one-on-one player in this game in terms of creation. And the result of that is you don't get any threes, and you don't get any of those assists like we talked about. But if those two guys are this good, and the Thunder defense is this good, it's going to overcome even a very good Pacers game. Like this was a very good Pacers game up until the moment. Like their offense was a little laggy in the fourth, but other than that, they played really well.
Yeah, Tyler, it almost felt like the game finally devolved into what we known like is the hard and fast rule with basketball in the playoffs for like throughout our lifetime, which is like, oh, the star did some star shit and won the game. Like the Pacers throughout this entire postseason have just been kind of circumventing that with just the crisp offense and ball movement and Halliburton and the magic of this postseason run, but just felt like all the little pixie dusts that they had throughout this, even this series, like Ben Mathurin, we should talk about, who like probably lost a local car dealership sponsorship in the back.
Grateful to Ben for his performance late tonight. I thought he was sensational.
I don't think I've ever seen it before. The two away from the play pre-pass fouls in one quarter.
And looking like looking incredulous about it. It's like, dude, you hit him like a bowling ball. What are we talking about here?
So maybe not as good as LeBron ultimately. Ben
maybe
Mathurin. Not. He might have lost that one. But yeah, just
it was okay.
It was almost odd to see the Pacers not come on top in this situation because like this is where they shine.
The Pacers defense has been, incredible when it's had to be throughout, a majority of this series, save game 2, right? And so I've been extremely impressed just with the unit as a whole. They scrap on every possession. Anybody who's chasing anybody is hauling ass. You know what I mean? Like they're not. Ben Shepherd. I don't think I've ever seen him get screened, which is infuriating as a Thunder fan. But he's just like and they have such active defenders. Nembhard is just so smart, and so it's so weird that he's young because he feels like one of these like wily vets already. You know what I mean? Like it feels like he's got a bunch of not the dark arts, but maybe the gray arts. Not quite the dark arts yet, but he's on the verge of learning them. And
I think it's the facial hair. Him and Shepherd both. It just makes you feel like they're more wily than they are.
Yeah, but like
he's an apprentice.
Totally.
We got there. Thank you. Yeah.
I think the big thing tonight was that the Thunder did not, particularly SGA and Jalen, did not stop driving. They just kept on sticking with the plan. And once they started to finally get some success going downhill late, that opened up the pull-ups for them and stuff. And so they started trying to get SGA the ball, not quite at the nail, but at the elbow, where he's not having to run off a bunch of screens. It's like this little rub on the block, and he sort of pops right up there, right? Like it's less. They're making him cover less ground in those moments, and then he's got Nembhard on him, and it's not the same as when Siakam's got a small on him, but Shai is much taller than Nembhard and can get a shot off over him for the most part when he wants, and especially once he started to loosen the defense up with some of the drives. He catches that one around 13 feet or whatever, and it's just one bounce right straight up, and that's a warm-up shot for him that he's getting in crunch time in the fourth of the NBA Finals. You know what I mean? And so that they just stuck with the plan, and that they kind of simplified the offense in the end. You know what I mean? It was in the same way that you sometimes used to see those old Thunder teams where it's just like, okay, this is going to be pick and roll. Russ is going to set a screen for KD, and then we're going to see what happens. It kind of turned into a little bit of that. There's a little bit more nuance with this team, thank God, than there was with the Scotty Brooks coach squads. But there was some element of they're trying to put Nesmith on Jalen, and Shai's got Nesmith in hell. Obviously, he fouls him out with whatever it was, like 44 seconds left or something. But Shai had Nesmith in hell for those final couple minutes, and they just kept setting that screen. And I'd be interested to see, like, that might just be an automatic switch based off of their, defensive principles and the game plan and stuff like that. But the Pacers have typically done a really good job with not giving up switches when they know the Thunder are trying to do that. Both of these teams are really invested on the defensive end and not giving up the switch that the other team desperately wants. So I was surprised to see them do it so consistently there towards the end. I mean, it speaks to Jalen as a screener. It speaks to how well he was playing and that they were terrified of him getting loose. But yeah, that things became kind of meat and potatoes there at the end was, I think it just simplified a lot of things for the offense. And at a certain point, him and Shai and Jalen finally kind of got in rhythm at the same time. And when those two are playing well, and when Chet's giving you anything, if those two are playing well and Chet's giving you anything, this team becomes very, very hard to beat.
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot.
Yeah,
exactly. Go ahead.
No, I want to get to the Chet part of it because his awakening in the second half, I don't know what happened exactly. I think
after a brutal rolled ankle.
Incredibly brutal rolled ankle, clearly like just was not moving super well, was not impacting the game in the first half, and then all of a sudden came alive in a totally different way in the second half that deserves singling out, deserves talking about. But I don't want to gloss past J-Dub in this because you're right, Tyler, that him setting those screens in that way is creating those switches. To me, that's like classic late game stuff where teams are a little more willing to switch to control the action than they might be in other situations. And so that's why you see that happening from the Pacers, especially when it's the two most dangerous players on the floor. But getting Nembhard off of Shai is just worth any action, any time, any investment. I just like this is going to take a bit of a threading of the needle, so bear with me. Andrew Nembhard played A plus defense in this game. Like guarded Shai as well as it can be done. And Shai had 35 points. Like those things are both true.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to live with both those things being true. But getting Nembhard off of Shai in some crucial moments, and Shai getting Nembhard off of him too, with the little bump and kind of creation of space that he's so good at. That's what created the ultimate separation for the Thunder down the stretch.
Well, yeah. So Shai had the 35 points, but the glaring, I think, number on the box score is just the 0 assists, and just speaks to what you're saying about Nembhard. But overall, it just seemed like there was a real, maybe not chopping the head off the snake because the Thunder ultimately won this game, but at very least like getting in a firm headlock, because that trickled down to everybody else. I was tracking this probably the entire game, where it was like, oh, at halftime, there's only 6 assists for the Thunder. Then it was 8, and then they ended up with, I believe, 10 here. But clearly, Tyler, there was just like something off about what Thunder had. And the fact that J-Dub stepped forward and did wrangle the game in a way that we've been hoping for a little while, and then you got the Chet bonus at the end there, I think that makes the difference. Because, I mean, not to be reductive about this, but like the Thunder need those guys in order to fill in, especially considering the way the Pacers are selling out. They're basically saying someone else beat us, because Shai, we will do everything to stop him.
No, for sure. And I think the misses compound things, right? And so as the game wears on and they just cannot hit from distance, things just tighten up on the inside, right? And there gets to be even less room to operate. They were running Chet off the line pretty good. Sometimes I feel like Chet's got a little window and he doesn't pull as quick as he should. Tonight, I didn't really feel like that. For the most part, it felt like they were just running him off the line and he was doing what he needed to do. But no, I mean, Nembhard has guarded SGA better than anybody this postseason, far and away, and has given him, I mean, this Pacers team has given him the kind of trouble that, like, I've really only seen in the past from somebody like, Amen's had some great possessions on him this year. Herb Jones used to have some great possessions on him a couple years ago when Herb was healthy. Like, you could, it's not as if he can't be, held in check some nights, but that he was, that Nembhard is making him, Nembhard and the Pacer defense altogether is making him work in a way that, nobody else has. And so for him to go for 35 when really it felt like he had not a ton in the tank, right? Like it really felt like he did not have a lot of juice for the beginning of that fourth quarter, and really for a lot of the second half. I mean, there was, he was 10 for 22 at one point, and you wouldn't say he was playing bad really, but they're not letting him beat them. You know what I mean? Like they're
he
doing,
feel constricted in a way that was very noticeable. And like Rob, I think like going into when we were doing the previews for this series, Nembhard hadn't historically, at least this season, had a ton of success against Shai. And so like what is different? Is it the fact that like maybe they could throw Shepherd out there for a bit, tire those guys out, he could stay fresh, and there's just like a relentlessness there?
I think it is the relentlessness, because in terms of physique and like profile, Andrew Nembhard is not the type of defender.
Yeah.
Like, the guys you're describing, Tyler, I would say Derrick Jones Jr. has also been in that category.
For sure.
Like bigger, lankier guys are the ones who usually give Shai a little bit of trouble, if anybody. Yeah. I don't know that we've ever seen someone this size get under his skin in this way. And, it's one of the things about Shai's game where he has such like a one-of-one unique style of movement. And one of the side effects of that is you can really tell when he's off balance, because we're so used to that kind of like glide by way he navigates through defenses and finishes kind of over and around anybody. All of a sudden you're seeing him at least in the bulk of this game, off balance. The body control isn't there. The poise on the jumper isn't there. He actually looks rushed for the first time in what feels like a year. And so seeing that version of Shai, I think you have to attribute to the total body of work, right? It's the way that they're making him work on both ends. It's the fact that Nembhard doesn't have, he has a level of offensive responsibility, but he's not driving offense. So he can pick up full court. He can dedicate his entire workload for the night, more or less, to this as much as anything, in a way that we've seen Nesmith do in other series, right? Like we see those guys kind of trade off and how much they have to lean into their defense. But a huge reason the Thunder survive all of that is because J-Dub was basically Shai for 3 quarters. Not necessarily in terms of production, but I thought this was just like as strong a game as we've seen from J-Dub, certainly in this postseason, maybe in his entire career. And I say that not just in terms of like, oh, he played well or he played smart, but getting to the basket, like getting to the basket aggressively through defense, finishing through contact, finishing through second chances when he would miss and go up through three guys to get his own miss and then finish. Just tremendous, like, can't miss stuff. Like, this is exactly who they need him to be. It's who everyone has been begging him to be. Real star level contributions from J-Dub in the biggest possible moment of the Thunder season.
Yeah, and it's definitely something that's going to have to show up down the road, not only because obviously they need him, he's a crucial part of what he does, but also I can't imagine the harassment is going to stop on Shai. And I do wonder how much these miles are going to compound over the course of this series. And one thing I've been tracking, Tyler, is like, obviously give the Pacers a ton of credit. They have found a way to disrupt him in the way that I can't remember any other team, especially over the course of the postseason. Like Denver did their damnedest, and he did not look like he is right now. But the other part of this, I think you have to wonder is like, we're now deep into the postseason of a season in which Shai took by far the most shots in the NBA, took by far the most free throws in the NBA. I was trying to track it before we got on here. It's basically, including the postseason and the regular season, it's basically 2,900 shots at this point. And they just, it's intrinsic to how they play. They need Shai to be the sun, the moon, the stars. But you have to wonder if like that is also slowly underneath like the tectonic plates, something that is happening here where it's like those miles are adding up and they're adding up. And it's just like Shai, especially from the mid range, just feels like, yeah, he's been great, but he hasn't been as sharp. And leading into this game, the struggles the Thunder have had been primarily from two. And from the mid-range, him and J-Dub. And so, I don't know, does it feel like just watching him over the course of this season that, like, in addition to what the Pacers are doing, he might be showing signs there, or am I reading too much into it?
I mean, I don't think that's reading too much into it. I think it's a combination of all those things, right? I think it's the last series of the season. They've played one 7-game series in these playoffs. The Minnesota series, they got rid of them quickly, but it was still physical. And then, you know, like, this one is there's Nembhard is, you have to be such a disciplined defender against Shai. You can't reach in. You got to move your feet. You got to try to just be chest to chest with him and keep him in front of you, because he's trying to use one of those crazy legs of his to just get you on his hip. Like if he gets a shoulder pass, you're kind of done, right? And Nembhard's ability to be a constant pest there, that he does have that disciplined I think reputation when it comes to the officials too. He can get, I mean, they showed it late, right? He gets away with a few tugs on the jersey. He gets away with some stuff because he is so disciplined. And that's not, Lord knows the Thunder do plenty of that too, right? So no shade here. That's how you should play defense in the playoffs. But so I think that's been a big aspect of it, is you have both Carlisle's a genius and is trying to move all the pieces around and figure out a way to keep him in check. You've got the fact that even though he's not a bad defender, he is the lesser of the evils on that end in a lot of situations for the Thunder, especially when Caruso's minutes are way up, right? It's like if you have a team that is perimeter focused, it's just, you're gonna go at him, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think in this series, like, you have seen him just exhausted, you know what I mean? And so I think it's been a great game plan by the Pacers. I think you could really tell that there was only a day off in between games this time too. I think you can tell that for both teams. Like, the Pacers don't have as much juice late as they usually do, but I think you could really tell it with Shai early on in the game. There just wasn't that kind of not even burst, but like the kind of the fluidity. There weren't as many moments of grace from him as you are accustomed to seeing, and that's like the Pacers throwing glitches in there. So they've had an incredible game plan, right? And like the execution has been aces for the most part. I think Shai is just a really special scorer, and he's the type of guy that you have to play him in the same way you got to play the Pacers for the full 48. You got to play him for the full 48. You know what I mean? And when him and Jalen are both cooking at the same time, it really makes things confusing for a defense, especially whenever they're both the two guys that are involved in the action late. You know what I mean? I think that Jalen was going and they had to sell out on him, if the ball is going back to him there. But I mean, Jalen as a ball handler tonight, there were some shaky moments, but there were also just some he's so good with his left and has been so good with his left, both as a finisher and a ball handler. He had there's a little over 8 minutes left, I think, to tie it. He snakes a ball screen and kind of just dances in front of Turner and then doesn't ever bring the ball back to his right and goes with his left. He's done that multiple times this series. And anytime he gets into that mode where he's got the defender in jail behind him and he's able to start snaking and he's got a little bit of a runway, if there's any space there, he's wiggly enough and wiry enough, he can finish sort of around the defense with this great left of his. I would love to see what this Thunder offense looked like making any three whatsoever.
Yeah,
because this series in particular it's just been anybody. So anyway, other than really game 2, right? Wiggins saved basketball and my soul, and I'm grateful to him for that. But yeah, I think it was just Shai. I thought this was a massive sort of moment for Shai. He's shut up all the doubters, I think, during this postseason. Just anybody who was he shouldn't have been the MVP or whatever. I don't think you can really throw stones at his performance this postseason in any way. No. He's just showed up, but to see him do that on the biggest stage, and Jalen too. I mean, more than that game 4 in Minnesota, more than the game 4 in Denver or whatever, more than they've had some great moments and some really, really good wins where it's felt like they've leveled up and grown, you know what I mean? But none more than that. To go in to be on the road there, to shoot like shit and to still come out with a W, that's I don't know how many. I mean, what did you say, Robert? To being I don't know how many other teams can win a game like that. That's
I genuinely don't.
That's kind of how I feel. It's the only other team that could do that. The Thunder are playing, and they did it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's no, yeah. I don't even know what to do.
The flip side of this, Rob, is that over time, maybe Shai just grinds this team down because he does play such a physical style. You had to wonder down the stretch also, the fact Nesmith just wasn't available, then the margins start to twist just a little bit. And as we've seen in this series, it's really a couple plays Nesmith blows through defenders in order to get offensive rebounds, all this stuff that really is dictating these games. So I do wonder if we're looking at this from the other side of things, maybe Shai is actually wearing down the Pacers, and that will ultimately prove it to be a difference.
It definitely could be. I mean, it's so hard. Look, part of the reason this game was as great as it was is it did feel like a moment. It was just not exactly clear to the end what that moment would mean or who it would be for. I had the moment in the third quarter. You brought up Obi Toppin earlier, Tyler. When he hit those back-to-back threes, I was like, oh my God, the Pacers might win the title. They might legit win the title. Yeah. This felt like the crest, the momentum, cresting into something really, really meaningful. Now we get to completely reinterpret what this game is and what its significance is. And this is going to this is a long series, a lot of basketball yet to be played. We're talking very positively about the Thunder because they stole this game, because of the manner in which they won it. If they go on to win, this is going to be one of the signature bullet points, right? Their resolve in this exact stretch of this fourth quarter, and specifically the way that their big three came together in maybe the most balanced fashion they have at any point in this postseason. And they've had great moments of sort of triangulating points and production and all those things. This was each of those three guys living up to their assignment and living up to their roles and exactly what the team kind of aspirationally hopes that they can be. This is the blueprint for who the Thunder want to be for the next half decade or more.
Mm-hmm.
It was each of them making plays that without that play, the Thunder don't win. They don't get unless without those two follows from Chet late in the fourth. It doesn't
Enormous
happen.
plays. Yeah.
Just massive. And without his, defense and those ISOs holding up, right? Like, and yeah, I mean, we've already talked about Jalen and Chet, or Jalen and Shai just as closers. But no, yeah, that trio really synthesized the goods tonight in the end.
Yeah.
It was for sure touch and go. And I agree with you, Rob. Like, we're talking highly of the Thunder specifically because of whatever 7 minutes of basketball, and we could have easily been slobbering all over the Pacers instead if it goes one way or the other. But I mean, that's the beauty of the playoffs. You know what I mean? It's so fun whenever one of these great games actually does come down to the wire like that. And it wasn't, it wasn't like it was a game winner or anything, but to see both teams have leads late and, that back and forth. And then, to see the Thunder, it's crazy. This is the first time they've been in the finals. Know what I mean? It's just crazy. It's crazy.
Well, let me say a few things about on the Pacers front, Justin. Let me tip a couple of caps here.
Please.
One, I think for maybe the majority of this game, or at the very least the first half, Pascal Siakam was the most dangerous player on the floor.
Oh my God, he was incredible.
Total menace on both ends, was amazing in transition, amazing sealing inside, did a tremendous job. I thought Tyrese Halliburton's driving in this game was incredibly promising. Again, was another kind of culmination of so many things he's been working towards in these playoffs, and so many ways in which defenses have been kind of like leveraging his wants and his inclinations against him at times. His double clutch reverse with the English, good Lord,
incredible.
Maybe the shot of the game up until the moment that the Pacers lost it. Obi Toppin was tremendous. I just think so many Pacers played so well. And this is what makes games like this so heartbreaking from Indy's perspective, is you kind of did everything you needed to do except seal it. And for that to happen to the Pacers of all teams feels like a poetic injustice, if nothing else.
Well, that's kind of like a good segue to the made men list I want to get to, which we're just now coining here. A couple guys I feel like earned their button tonight. Because there are a lot of guys in this series in particular, in the playoffs too, getting to this point. But it feels like guys are almost cementing themselves as the type of guys I'm always going to have based on these moments. Maybe in the regular season they don't play as well. Maybe they don't hit every shot, but when they take that next shot, I'm going to believe in them. I almost wonder if Alex Caruso deserves even consideration here, because I think we all thought highly of him before. But considering his regular season, the fact that he does deal with injuries now and then, he kind of didn't have much opportunity with the Chicago Bulls, despite some plentiful amount of play-in opportunities. But do we think Alex Caruso, one, deserves to be on this list? And if so, Rob, is he a made man?
I think he is a made man. I think he does deserve to be on the list. Again, there's different levels to this stuff, right? There's the level of you take your team to a conference finals run, and that's going to be enough to mint you in that city for life. And then there is the different level of elevation that comes with winning a title specifically. If the Thunder win the title, Alex Caruso is going to ascend to a level of mimetic prominence that he will never be able to escape. It's just going to be who he is going to be, the dog of dogs for the rest of his life. These highlight reels will live rent free in so many people's heads. So he is going to be up there for sure. I would Nesmith and Nembhard, absolutely. Those guys
are the next two guys.
Playoff elevators, just not just by percentages, but by impact of play, are just totally different beasts.
Did he get to 10 rebounds tonight? He had 9 with a lot of time left, and I just stopped looking at it. But as a rebounder, he's incredible.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He ended with 9?
Yes.
Ended with 9.
Wow, that's surprising to me.
Well, let's take them one at a time then. So Andrew Nembhard, who Mike Breen tried to force playoff Andrew as a nickname in game 2. It almost was they're calling him playoff Andrew. I was like, no, they're not. Why did anyone try to do this? But Tyler, do you think playoff Andrew is now a guy? Because he's definitely more in the range I think we're talking about here, where it's he's young enough to where I don't think we know who he's going to be. But goddamn, with the defense, it's just plus the fact that he only makes 3-pointers in the playoffs, I think he might be a made guy.
He's definitely a made guy at this point, just because he's it's not like he has only had one good series up till now and he didn't show up in these other ones. You know what I mean? Like he's been incredible for them. And no, I think as just like a steady force who's going to do his job. And if things break where, you know, he winds up shooting 8 threes in a game, he could wind up with 25 pretty easily, but they don't necessarily need that from him. I mean, he's just perfect for what they are trying to do. Same thing with Nesmith. I mean, that whole front office has just done such an incredible job of finding pieces that match with that play style, right? And so it's been him and Nesmith, I think, are both made men just for or at least like they're made men for like the next 4 years. You know what I mean?
It's like a presidential term.
Yeah, I think there's like if you're young enough, or if it's early enough in your made man tenure, I think you can lose it. You know what I mean? I think in certain situations with certain guys, you know, it's like, you know, I think it can fall by the wayside a little bit, but for right now, for sure. And I think the Caruso thing, the reason I would say he like leveled up is obviously we know everything about the defense. He's got that huge deflection late tonight whenever he helps off and just like basically catches the ball out of the air there with whatever it was. Like, I can't remember if it was inside 4 minutes or not, but he scored 20 twice in this series.
Yeah.
And I can assure you, in the wildest dreams of Thunder fans, whenever they got him, no one thought he was going to score 20 in one playoff game, much less 2 finals games. And
that's not the plan.
No. And what, he misses 2 shots tonight, I think. You know, it's like to score like that, to get that much production from him on the offensive end whenever you know what you're getting from him defensively is just, it's incalculable. To be able to play him late and not worry about that he's shown so much as a driver, weirdly, which you mentioned earlier, Justin. Like it's just all that stuff combined, I think he's gone up a level. I think he would have gone up a level in my estimation, even if I wasn't a Thunder fan. But I'm also a Thunder fan and can't be trusted, right? I'm a massive Hummer.
I think you could also tell when guys, like, what they wear, their mannerisms starts to trickle into what the fans replicate. And the whole headband thing,
oh my God,
has been the calling card for like 90 different players within the past 10 years. Like the fact that is a thing for the Thunder, I think that matters. That's like a data point.
3 of the oldest white people in the world wearing white headbands going into game 2 for the Thunder. I thought they were going to fall apart in front of me. They were sold, but they loved them some Caruso, man.
But Caruso's a made man. After a game like this, there's no question about it. I think Nembhard and Nesmith got to be in there. Not to step on your list, Justin, but I think you can make an argument for almost every supporting Indiana Pacer.
Well, Obi Toppin's the last guy. And I do think he's a tough one, because there are some times where I was like, why is that guy playing? And then there are nights like tonight where it's like, is he the best fucking guy in the court? Like, amazing. What's going on here? Is he better than Karl Anthony Towns, or the Knicks just built around him?
See, I think, look, again, there's levels to this stuff. I think Obi Toppin, by the end of this run, win or lose, will cement himself as a kind of made man and will have significantly shifted his perception in terms of what his value is as a basketball player, and specifically his playoff value. He's not just like, oh, what a great athlete running the floor and dunking in the regular season. He's busting teams open with threes. He's making incredibly athletic plays on defense. He's doing the least Obi Toppin thing possible historically, which is rebound the ball against other people. It's been incredible. I also think, though, like, one game 3 Ben Mathurin game sort of cements the idea in the back of your mind forever that, like, he could just have 27 points in 22 minutes. You know, like,
I think he gave it away.
Happen. You
think
so?
He gave it back. I think it
Wow.
it cancels it out. There needs to be a net positive of made menness in order for him to really get the button.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying he's as good as these other guys, just that in terms of like his playoff perception, he's always going to be one of those like playoff heat check guys from now on.
No, I think you're right, Rob. I think even if he's not on the Pacers in like 3 years, if he's on the Jazz or something and they're all of a sudden in the playoffs again, I think for sure people will be like, and look, Matherin, you never know. He could go for, you know what I mean? Like that's
the thing.
Just good
the
podcasting.
moment he signs
right.
with anybody else is like, hey, look, he scored 27. And, like it's for sure. It's not first paragraph of the obit, but it's way up. It's, we're high in the body in the
He's gonna outlast Campaign in the league. just like, hey, Campaign had that game with the Suns.
One can only hope.
Yeah. See, yeah, you're right. There are levels there. Those are guys that at the very least, like, we'll remember always. Like when the Pacers go to the finals in 2050, and we're watching this on Mars, like they will be up in the arena in Gainhouse, like just arena. I think
another
and some of the other guys were tonight. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Justin. I was being very rude there.
It was a bad point. You're fine.
No. I was I think that another guy for the Thunder that deserves some love is Kenrich Williams.
Yes.
This is a guy who, even more than Isaiah Joe or Aaron Wiggins, the minutes are spotty. They're not always going to roll him out. He'll have a DNP, and it's not a surprise, right? Like they get him in the Steven Adams to New Orleans Pelicans trade way back in the day.
Yeah.
He's a throw-in, basically. And he gets into the Thunder ecosystem, and slowly they're like, oh, this guy is more than just an offensive rebounder. He can actually handle the ball a little bit. He can shoot it a little bit, and he's also just competitive as hell. He was the guy that the Thunder that was basically like, hey, LeBron can break the record on me. It's fine. I'll go guard him. Like, he's just that kind of guy. He doesn't care. He's there to win.
His name is Kenny Hustle.
Kenny Hustle. And I've been throwing out the name. I've been throwing out an alt, which is Big Rich. And I don't know how it is, but I think it's kind of okay, right?
I like it.
Is it basketball reference worthy? Probably not. We're not dealing with Taliban here with that, right? Like that's perfection. But I do think that Big Rich is pretty solid. But no, I like for him to, because they've gone to him a couple times, or even more than a couple times during this postseason, whenever they do want a little bit of a change up, if they want to go super duper small, but still kind of like when he gives them good minutes, it's just so huge for the long game for the team too, because other guys can store up reserves for the late third and fourth. You know what I mean? And to see him come in and, Lord knows Siakam was cooking all night, but to make Siakam work, he's a little bit bigger body, right? A little bit taller than some of these other guys, save Jalen. He's able to just get, I think, a little bit better contests than Caruso or Kaysen in those situations. And so what he did tonight, and just offensively, you never feel like he's over his head, really. You know what I mean? He just really plays within himself, and that he can fit so seamlessly in such spotty minutes, in such big games and big moments, I think just says a lot about him. I mean, he had a huge game against the Nuggets, I'm pretty sure, or it might have been against the Wolves. Again, I have peanut butter up here at this point, but like I've just been so impressed with him this postseason. And the ways that they've used him, and that there really hasn't been a time where they've brought him out and it's been like, all right, Kenrich, appreciate the time, but go back. You know what I mean? Like he hasn't gotten played off the floor in these situations. And that's, they're not putting him out there and asking him to just hide on somebody. You know what I mean? Like they're asking him to go out there and be a part of the action. And, he's not just some guy who's going to stand in the corner and chuck. And so I've been, that's a guy who, you talk about somebody who's minted not in the league, but as a Thunder player, the way Thunder fans feel about that dude, that's like he's not Collison yet, but they've always sort of called him like this generation's Collison.
Sure.
It's
pretty good.
I don't know if he's going to get his jersey retired, but I wouldn't throw a fit if he did.
This was one of those games though, like low key, one of the little things that mattered in this game. Kenrich Williams, second quarter minutes. He comes in, he plays like 11 minutes in this game, 4 points, not a huge deal like in the box score terms, but comes in, screens for Shai, frees him up, gives him an outlet in the middle of the floor when Shai is being hounded. And frankly, when Chet isn't moving well, Isaiah Hartenstein isn't playing well. And so you don't have that like pick and roll, short roll passer. And there was a possession where he got in the middle floor. I think he dumped it off to Caruso for a layup. And it was like the first breath of fresh air that the Thunder had in like 6 minutes. Those are huge plays. Then he gets a leak out bucket in transition, and he's playing good defense, and he always knows where to be. It's like having a guy like that just in the rotation, as you're saying, Tyler, that you can yo-yo in and out, that plays in some matchups and doesn't in others. Invaluable, an invaluable resource for the Thunder. Like, this is what's so interesting about OKC is they are one of the youngest teams in the league. They're still finding their way in so many different respects. They play so deep, and yet they have all of these luxuries that other teams don't have. And some of that is by nature of their youth. Some of it is just by the nature of how brilliantly this team has been constructed. But having Kenrich Williams just kind of waving in the wind when you need him, an incredible thing to have for any team.
I think we've decided that like everyone on both rosters are made men except for Isaiah Joe. I think that's what
this is what happens when you go to the finals. Like, you get remembered forever for those kinds of runs.
Yeah, just get pricked. Why don't we look ahead to the next game? We're tied here. So Tyler, if I have the chart that they have in medical offices of like the 10 smiley faces going from very sad to very happy, like where are you in terms of your anxiety level going into this next game?
Oh shit! It's always I'm in like 17 frowny faces always when it comes to this stuff. I'm a cynic at heart and scared to death of this Pacers team, as I wrote for the site. I think that they have enough offensive firepower that they could go into Oklahoma City and steal another one. I don't see why they couldn't, especially if none of the role players for the Thunder can put the ball in the basket like they, like a lot of them couldn't, at least from distance. So I'm always my prediction before the series was Thunder in 6. And so I'm going to roll with that, even though now it feels like the smart thing to do would probably be Thunder in 7. Just because I've got a lot. I feel like I had a lot of respect for the Pacers coming in just because of how great they've been in the clutch and because it feels like there's something magical about them. You know what I mean? Like, not just in the way not just in the way they play offense, but like they are the sun is shining favorably upon them this postseason. You know what I mean? Like, there's something to this run, and so I've absolutely no more confidence than I'm at neutral, baby. I'm like the Thunder. You know what I mean? I'm a cliche.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. I think it'll probably. I'm gonna roll with Thunder in 6, but I have no certainties against this Pacer team. As as much as the Thunder have answered a lot of bells, right? It's like ultimately probably the series should be 2-2, right? Like, the Pacers probably should have won tonight, and the Thunder should have won game 1. And it feels like, even though there's been a couple steals, like, it feels like it's kind of what it should be. And so, I don't know. This Pacer team, they feel too resilient to be like, oh no, we figured them out in that final, whatever.
Well, the Thunder are a 68-win team, and they feel like the underdogs now. Like, I almost feel like they need to overcome this rising tide of the Pacers. So, Rob, where are you going to the next one?
I mean, there's no certainty to be had here, as Tyler said, with anything that's happening. I will say, just like in terms, if you want to zoom out, this is what these series look like when if a heavily favored or just a favored team happens to go down 2-1. Often they win game 4. A lot of times they win game 5. And that's kind of when the balance of the series starts to turn. From down 2-1 to up 3-2. That's what great teams do. And we're about to find out if the Thunder are a great team or not. We're about to find out if they're worthy of that kind of designation or if they're not quite ready for that particular moment. But I'm a little hard pressed to think that they won't at least show up. I think we're going to get more competitive games. We're going to get more craziness. We're probably going to get more crunch time heroics from the Pacers. Like, I have no doubt of it. But I think ultimately the Thunder have found their level again in a way that's really meaningful. They haven't solved the series. They haven't cracked the Pacers. You can't. I think it's pretty clear at this point. Like, no one is going to keep that team down for extended stretches. But their defensive performance in the fourth quarter and ultimately getting one of these like psychological crunch time wins, I think is just a huge development for them in this series.
I think another big thing for the Thunder, and one of the reasons that I feel even a little bit better about the game outside of the great comeback at the end is, they've got, by and large, the Thunder did not play a good first half of basketball, or at least not near what they can, right? And to only be down what they were down at half, was it 7 or something? I can't remember or whatever, but they, the Pacers were trying to stretch a lead out there. And then for the final like 17 possessions of that second quarter, I think the Pacers only scored 15 points. You know what I mean? Like, that's to be able to do that to the Pacers at home in a game where they came out hot, and you could tell they were like, we need to try to like blow this thing open early and see if we can get them to blink a little bit. That the Thunder kind of stayed the course and were able to string together some stops there in the second quarter and kind of stem the tide and just keep things close, to not let go of the rope in the way that can happen against the Pacers. That was not more encouraging, but it's a massive part of why I feel a little bit better than I even would after the comeback. But that said, I have zero confidence either direction on what's going to happen.
Listen, if the Pacers take 2 in OKC, like no team has this postseason, we're on a goddamn magic carpet ride to destiny, my friends. Like, all bets are off. And so I can't wait to see it. I think we'll be back after game 5 on Monday. Waz, if he gets through customs, I believe will be with us. But
he's actually being interviewed, Justin, for the New York Knicks head coaching job. That's why he's not with us tonight.
And good luck, Waz. Good luck, Waz. I'm sending James an email. He's a friend. I'll let him know.
Worldwide Waz. It was all in the
Worldwide Waz, yes.
So thanks to Tyler for joining us. Thank you to Isaiah Blakely. Thank you to Ben Cruz. Thank you to John Richter and Victoria Valencia on the video side of things. We'll be back on Monday. We will talk to you then.